In the mobile clinics that we are doing in the community, we came across a man who was recently let go from the detention centers. He informed us that the inhumane conditions inside these facilities has gotten worse, in fact. He told us that he was being locked up with about 300 other men in these cells, and we know that these cells actually are made of metal steel with iron roof, so it's actually really hot inside. Bear in mind that now it's actually the high time in summer in Libya, so the temperature outside is about 50 degrees, and it's not an exaggeration to say that the temperature inside these cells has reached a dangerous level. In fact, before our suspension, our team has seen people being carried out from these cells in an unconscious state due to heat stroke. So there are children, 12 years old, 13 years old, left alone in these cells. There are also elderly people. It's so overcrowded that up to 4 people sharing each square meter, and people had to take turns to lie down and sleep. And it's simply unbearable conditions. So unfortunately, it seems like that all the concerns that we have raised and the observations that had compelled us to temporarily suspend our activities are still there. It's not surprising to know that the population inside these detention centers have been steadily increasing. Just last week, more than 2,000 people were being intercepted and returned forcibly to Libya and sent to these detention centers. That's why it was a really difficult decision for us to make. For us, the moral dilemma is that we know on one hand, these detention centers are arbitrarily detaining people for an indefinite period of time, which is a system that should be rejected. But on the other hand, we know that the humanitarian needs inside these facilities are so immense. And for the benefit of the migrants and refugees kept inside, we accepted to work in these detention centers. But as the conditions continue to deteriorate, and after having tried and exhausted all possible means to raise our concerns to the authorities, and nothing has changed, the question for us and the dilemma is then, do we continue to allow ourselves to accept sliding down this slippery slope and make more and more concessions to accept the unacceptable? Or do we say that enough is enough? How bad is it bad enough for us to stop? For us, the moment when we decided to suspend our activities in end of June was the moment. It was a really painful decision for myself and for many of my colleagues, because we know that the migrants and the refugees inside these detention centers are immediately losing access to the humanitarian and medical assistance that they needed so desperately. We still hope that this is a temporary suspension, and we're trying all possible means to reach out to the authorities, to reopen dialogue, and to hopefully put in place some of the improved conditions that would allow us to resume the activities. We reiterate our call to the authorities to put in place measures that can prevent further violence from happening, threatening the safety of the migrants and refugees being kept inside, as well as to our colleagues, to MSF medical team. We need to ensure that our medical team is able to provide the humanitarian medical assistance in a safe environment, and it is the same for the migrants inside to receive this assistance, which is, to a lot of them, it's a lifeline.